Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
Blake, what's going on, man? I'm doing well. How are you? Excited to be here. We've been I feel like you and I have been talking about this for a while, about can't wait till we're talking baseball again, and we don't have to wait any longer, man. We're here. We made it. So we made
Firstly, before I forget, I want a hat like that.
Yeah, I got you, man. I got you. We got the fresh lid in, ready for opening weekend. So, yeah.
Okay, I want a hat. Okay, that's number one. Not putting LSU number one in your power rankings. I deserve a hat. That's number one. But hold on, before we get to that, Chris, I got to get to some gossip with you.
Okay.
And I know what you're thinking. What in the Sam hell is this big son of a gun about to talk about? What's he about to say? We trying to take away spring football?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about that tonight, actually. It's I guess our friend Brandon Marcello was the one that sort of broke that story, or wrote that story, if you will, going to more of an OTA approach. You know, there's the logical response, Blake, and the emotional response. Because logically, I get it. Like, I don't want to put some of my best athletes on tape either for other guys, especially if I've seen them all spring. I know they're kind of a diamond in the rough, or they're an unknown. And why am I going to put out a showcase, essentially, for other coaches to then see, and they can poach, and they can tamper, and they can, essentially recruit my roster against me and offer an NIL. So I get that side, but does it make the game of college football more likable? And it doesn't. It doesn't, man. Like, it's just not having a spring game will we stop watching college football because of that? No, but it makes the game less likable. There's no question. I mean, I grew up going to spring games. I'm sure you did too. I'm sure many watching this did as well. And it's just like, it's just one of those core things. It's just another thing, just chipping away at it, right? We're chipping away at college football. It's almost like college football and those in charge, if there is anyone in charge, they essentially say, like, how much can we take away? And they still keep coming back. And I just wonder, Blake, if we're ever going to get to a day where people are like, I'm kind of tired of football. Like, I just, it doesn't really move the needle for me like that anymore. I don't know that we reach that point, because for me, like, again, I still love it, Blake. You still love it. The audience, everybody here probably still loves it. But it's less likable than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I mean, this is just the latest thing. It's making the game unrecognizable. And I don't know how good that is for the sport.
I remember Ed Orgeron had a receiver one time. His name was Jamar Chase. He's done absolutely nothing special. He missed a pass in a spring game and almost got hurt. And Ed was like, Jamal. Called him over there, put his ass on the sidelines, didn't play another play. Hey, you think a dude's going to be a stud? Here's an easy fix. You ready? Don't play him. Yeah. Here's the second thing. Portal players in spring don't go in there like that. Secondly, you get paid $7.5 million a year to bitch because you're getting your teeth kicked in? Like, no. You're getting your teeth kicked in. Oh, by the way, the number one player that was in high school recruiting 2 years ago, went to Missouri, Williams Nawari. How did Nebraska get him?
Yeah, through the portal.
Through the portal. I guess when the kid went into the portal with a do not contact tag, I guess Nebraska never talked to him, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, Blake. I this is a totally different subject, because I did a segment on this tonight. I sent it to you, and I could be just way off base, but this is the first offseason where it's great for those of us that love college basketball and obviously college baseball, because I'm feeling fans lean into college baseball more than ever before, really, truly. And I know there's a lot of pride in the SEC. That it's, I mentioned this on social media, that I think the fan bases of the SEC, they like basketball. Some may love basketball, but baseball's personal. Like, there's so much deep-rooted history and tradition. And to have an off year in basketball or two, whatever, it's tough. To not make the postseason in baseball is like blasphemy. You know what I mean? It would be considered
Twitter
blasphemy. Right, it would. So it's different. This is the first offseason I can recall. People are they have football fatigue. I think people are leaning into baseball and basketball a lot more. It's like, this is a nice breath of fresh air from just kind of the nonsense. I mean, how many off seasons can we go through, Blake, where it's like, I mean, even me, I know you probably too. I'm like, God, if I have to have one more conversation about conference realignment, I'm going to end it all. And I'm joking, obviously, but it's like, I'm going to shut my laptop for a week. It's so I
No, I'm with you.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting for real.
You need some. Here's just the God's truth. And listen, I'm not being political and saying this, but you doing the SEC. We do a college football show. I don't know if you saw today, but the White House came out with a statement and said, "Hey, you don't want to pay the TV revenue share for football because of Title IX? That ain't Title IX. That's BS. That's what the federal court system said. You go ahead and do it. Like, you're going to do the TV revenue share." And everybody just like, oh, no one talks about it. They want to talk about no spring games. What they don't want to talk about is, hey, why don't we get some regulation? Chris, this isn't stop. Ted Cruz is over this, by the way. Texas is in the SEC. Do you think Texas, who's had 2 Final Four appearances since NIL has started, that they want NIL in the portal to stop the way that they've we're back? No, they don't. Like, let's call it what it is. Why would Texas want to go there? Newsflash. Now that LSU got that money and we out there spending that gumbo and bayou and crawfish money, they don't want to either, because Paul Skeens and James Daniels happens, right? Like, I mean, why would we want that to happen?
If you're going to give up your gumbo and your crawfish, you better be getting something big in return. That's all.
By the way, I know that you won't know what this means, but I ate dusted crawfish, and I'm a damn ashamed of myself. We will let you experience the non-dusted crawfish when you come down this year.
How many times have I texted you about the poop line this over the last few months?
Listen,
the questions I have. I'm on my TikTok or social media, and I see videos about the poop line. I'm like, explain this to me like I'm 5.
Here's one thing. Well, number one, people don't really watch their crawfish like that. They say they do. They don't. They're lazy. They don't watch the crawfish. Number two, all you got to do is pull one little lever on the tail, pull it out, put it on the side, open the crawfish, and it's good to go. See, I've been eating crawfish since I was 7 months old.
I'm going to trust you on all things crawfish.
Yeah,
I'm going to trust you on that.
Listen, before I started trying to, I did traps today, by the way. Before I started getting to this fitness kick, okay, your boy ate, right? Like, I mean, we put down some gross.
You're no lineman, Blake. Yeah, I know you could eat and put down a case of beer with the best of them. I know.
Well, they were laughing at me in the gym today. I was doing it. I don't do flat bench, but I was doing some traps. I'll go and get some chest in, and I'm like, yeah. And they're like, this dude's a psychopath. Okay. Anyway, it's one little tail pull on what we're going to call a lever. You pull it out, you throw it away. But listen, man, don't let the poo line fool you. Okay. We're going to have a remedy for the poo line. Okay. I promise you.
Okay. I trust you. Again, we're going to be down there, man, a few months. It'll be
after you went to Pyrans and you experienced the greatness.
I trust you in all things food down in the bayou, man. That's for sure.
I mean, listen,
after the Pyrans experience.
You did have crawfish on the Undewey, but it's not the boil. And listen, you want to experience this place, well, you're going to see some real Cajun shit. I'm just going to – listen, there ain't nothing more Cajun than a crawfish bowl, big dog. I'm bringing you to the heart of the bayou now.
That LSU baseball weekend going to hit different, Blake. I know it is. I know it is. I get it, man. I get it. Hey, on that note, by the way, Blake, I want to take a moment because we're getting so lost in the shuffle. Friday's opening day. We're all really excited. Yeah, I do want to acknowledge, Blake, that Friday is also Valentine's Day. So I want to acknowledge my bae and wish a happy Valentine's Day. So let me do that. Happy Valentine's Day, Blake. Happy Valentine's Day. We made it. Look at this. Official SEC ball. Happy Valentine's Day. I figured you were going to grab that picture of Joe Burrow up there and give him a salute.
Oh, no. I was going to show you this.
Oh, you got the ball as well. You got the Skeens ball?
It's just an SEC ball.
Okay. I see it. Okay.
We do
you're going to have that Skeens. Hold on. I know you got the Tommy Tank stuff. I mean.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got it right here. I mean, but hold on. That's signed by Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens. Let me just tell you this, and I'm not taking it out, but I will if I need to. When you come here, listen, I love football more than anything on this earth. Mm-hmm. When this puppy shit starts getting thrown around, shit starts getting a little personal.
Yeah,
the
pearl starts flying, man. It's different. It's different. It hits different, man. It hits different. So
my first love was baseball, man. I've told you this before too, and we'll get into it here and start with some of the SEC. I mean, listen. The guy that pretty much raised me was a head coach. My uncle, parents divorced, whatever. My grandfather being there for 30 years. I mean, it being a 6-year family experience. It was my first love. The problem is that I had traps like Bane when I was on some special juice sometimes, and things just didn't really work out. You know what I mean? And
you were meant for a different venture. We'll put it that way.
Meant for a different venture. I didn't get the athletic baseball genes. Now, Jeff Tajon, wherever you're listening, Chris, we did this hit-a-thon. I pointed to the fence one year like I was Babe Ruth and bunted that bitch. That's why it wouldn't have happened. You know, even though I love it, it just, it was what it was.
You were probably intimidating in the box, but just nothing more. You scared them off the bus, so that's about it, though.
Oh, dude, I was good for the first 2 pitches. I would intimidate. I would like, bro, these dudes are like, what is this fat son bitch up here doing? And I'm like, I'm about to take you yards, son. And I would be telling him, I'd be looking at the catcher, be like, this is going bye-bye. Chris, I'd strike out in 4 pitches. I mean,
I couldn't hit for shit either, Blake. My senior year, I mean, I was a pitcher in college. So my senior year, everybody knew I was going to be a PO and pitcher only. And they essentially, I was hitting like 350 too. My coach was like, nah, we need you to pitch. Just we're going to let you chill the rest of the season. Just pitch and chill. I was and I was like, you know what? That's what I like to do anyways. So whatever. My
first high school hit was Oppo, by the way. Scared shitless. Girlfriend in the stands, by the way.
That really gets you going when you're in high school and you got the girlfriend watching you. That you're like I got to go extra. I got to go extra hard today. I didn't
play. I didn't play like that. Okay, but when your boy got in the box, okay, especially when my time was called, which was very fair. The junior year, but when shit got real. Brother, I was swinging for the bleachers. Do you hear me? I didn't give a shit what they said. Brother, I was swinging. The fact that I hit something opposite field is a miracle upon Christ. Okay? Like a miracle upon Christ. But
what's funny, I was an oppo guy. I was just late on everything for whatever reason. But I've got the golf swing going, so kind of the inside out. So I love to just inside out. Just I hated pulling the ball.
Chris, I would go high leg kick, and I'm getting all 300 pounds behind that shit now at this moment. I'm getting every force of fiber in my being behind this bitch. Like, this is getting sent.
No two-strike approach. None.
No, brother, I'm swinging for the Dude, the creative player on MLB The Show, which, by the way, they're bringing college baseball on MLB The Show.
I'm stoked.
I'm going to play 70.
It's a must cop. It just for that reason alone.
Without a doubt. And because Skeens is on it. But, I mean, think about this. I'm going to play 70,000 college baseball seasons. I'm just going to create, never go to the MLB.
How incredible, by the way, is this run with LSU? You got Skeens on the cover of the show. Jaden Daniels just won the NFL, Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
You got, Joey B is Joe Shiesty. He's doing his thing as the franchise guy in Cincy. Who am I missing any? Like, obviously Malik Neighbors and
the top 3 receivers.
Dude, LSU. Libby Dunn's still like the hottest thing, on the earth. Angel Reese took over the world essentially. Women's best. Like LSU's taking over the world, man. It's crazy.
And listen, we only got one national title in football now. That's the thing that pisses them off around here. And so listen, we talked about this, you and I, a little bit. And it's not football season, but listen, man, I'm just telling you. We talked about it off air, whatever. Y'all putting this, they're going to the playoffs. I'm telling you. I texted you this today. I saw Jane Daniels go off and us go 9-3. Defensively, you better figure some things out. You can get your ass.
There's a lot of questions to be answered. I will say this, that I don't blame those that way too early want to say LSU's a playoff team. I think that obviously it's a really important season for BK. You've gotten us back. I would expect the defense to take another step forward under Blake Baker, but it's not a one-game season. We saw that last year. It's not. But boy, you need to win that Clemson game. I
know.
If you lose another opener, Chris, to your point, you make a great point. There's no guarantees. But at some point, you've told me others 9-3 is going to get you fired at LSU. So
your superstar is going to go in the top 10 picks, said that. He also went up there and said we're going to run the shit out of the ball, and they ended up at 107th.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
you got some things you got to figure out, big dog.
I think it'll be even more unforgivable this season with the investment that. I mean, listen, BK and everybody there down there at Baton Rouge asked. LSU fans have delivered. I mean, I see you on social media every day pushing it. Y'all got these $1 million matches, and it's like a day later it's done. So, there was this misconception over the last few years that the Bayou didn't have the money to compete. That's the furthest thing from the truth. I mean, I think the NIL situation it's proven itself, and what LSU's done in the portal. There's no excuse. You hate to go into a season but granted, no, you don't, because it's LSU. You have those expectations. You got to get to 10 wins. I mean, just bottom line.
No excuses. I mean, listen, Jay Johnson spent more, was spending more in the portal than the football team was now. Mm-hmm. I mean, all right. I mean, like, now, Jay go up in there whining and dining people, man. He makes you not say no. I mean, that's his superpower. So, speaking of baseball, let's get to it. So, Chris, there is SEC baseball that will start. Is anybody playing on Thursday, or is everybody start on Friday?
No, it's all on Friday. We got some double headers on Friday, too. We got I think
we ain't even one day into college
baseball. We already got rainouts and double headers, and dude, Arkansas is playing 2 on Friday. I think Mississippi State's playing 2 on Friday. So I think Florida might try to play 2 on Friday. From what I heard.
Yeah. Good. There's going to be baseball on all day?
Plenty of it.
Oh, I'll take every bit of it. But let's start here. We'll get to LSU last because we talk about them a lot, and I'll get your thoughts. But there are a lot of big name teams in the SEC baseball-wise this year, Texas A&M being the number 1 team in that. Look, a lot has happened at A&M. They got a new head coach, clearly. Everybody remembers the Schlossnagle deal. But, man, they turn a lot. And I know that you were around a lot of those guys that when you went to College Station this past football season. Your thoughts on A&M? Because, look, man, you come into the season number 1, you're stacked like they are. I mean, it's – I don't want to say Omaha or bust, but it sure feels like super regionals are bust, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Omaha or bust is fair with that group. They're loaded, Blake. They're loaded. I mean, here's the thing. You get to the supers, depending on matchups, anything can happen. We've all seen it before, right? So, but with this team, I will be stunned if they're not hosting. I will be stunned if they're not a top 8 national seed. Find me the weakness. I mean, that's the thing. Here's the thing. When you got the target on your back and you're number 1 and there's going to be a lot of pressure on, like the first time Mike Early loses 2 of 3, loses a midweek, there's going to be questions. There's going to be people questioning, how is this even possible? So, the pressure is one thing. But, I think you and I talked about this over the offseason, Blake, that team is so talented and they're so loaded in all aspects. Those guys could go out there and make the lineup themselves and call the pitching changes, and I think they'd probably still be one of the top 16 hosting a regional. Like, they're that talented, truly, with guys like Jace Lavalette and Gavin Grahovic leading the way in the lineup. Ryan Prager obviously back. Justin Lampkin back. You got to replace Hayden Schott back, Caden Sorrell, Caden Kent. I mean, you got to replace guys like Aschenbeck and Cortez in the bullpen. Those are the big ones. And I think for a lot of most college teams, that's the bullpens where the mysteries really lie. Like, who are the dudes back there? These first couple weeks, non-conference, are huge. It's going to be huge for LSU, too. Establishing roles. Who's going to be the guys we can depend on? 7th, 8th, 9th. Get us 6 outs. Get us 3 outs, whatever. But that team is just stacked, man. I mean, they're stacked. Now, as you saw, I did not pick them to win the regular season. That doesn't mean they're going to win the regular season. Dude, it's baseball. It's hard, right? It's they might go 20-10 and finish in 2nd or 3rd, like, and still be a really good club and fighting for a top 8 national seed. So, but I picked them to go to Omaha. I'd be stunned if they're not there, man. They're just, and it's baseball is one of those things. Hey, maybe the Dodgers won't win the World Series this year, but man, when you got the best players, when you got the most good players, that's a pretty good team to bank on. So, no, I love A&M going in, man. They're number 1 for a reason. I think they were the easy pick. And I'm curious to see, they're going to play with a chip on the shoulder, Blake, because of the Schloss thing and him being at Texas and all those guys that are back that have got something to prove. They want to get back on a national title. Are they still able to play loose and have fun? Do we see a point in the season, like when adversity hits, does the pressure start to mount on them? Because, again, with expectations comes great pressure. It's going to be up to the leadership in that locker room to manage that, maintain that, get them out of a rut. Because a rut's going to happen. Like, it's baseball. A rut's going to happen. But if that team is mature, like I think they are, led by some of the stars they are, I think it's fair to put Omaha or bust on that group.
I heard the little Spider-Man comp movie that you made in there. With great power comes great responsibility.
It's true, man. Yeah,
it is true.
It's hard. Listen, it's hard to have that bullseye on your back and go the whole way, start to finish. That's
what
tough,
I was about to ask you. Do you think that I'm right in saying this? Because I don't know if I agree with my thought on this. Mm-hmm. I think you can hit your way to Omaha. The bullpen's what wins you the whole thing, right? Like, I mean, look, we've seen teams.
You got to have 4 or 5 guys you can really count on that will go out there and nut up when you need them. Like, to win it all, there's going to have to be. Every national title run with every team, there's moments you look back and like, that was a legendary pitching performance. That was a legendary 2-strike pitch. That every time, to your point, like you have to have that. You got to have we think last year, you got to have those dudes you can turn to in crunch time and get big outs and make big pitches. And that the teams that win it, that's what they have most of.
I think of Skeens being in the 10th inning against Wake Forest. My man's going on the 10th inning. This is how you should have known that he was superhuman. He's 115 pitches plus. Runners first and third, they bunt, and Trey Morgan, who's killing it at Tampa right now, makes that unreal
Incredible play.
You also need luck, and you tweeted this, and it was probably the most beautiful tweet I've seen about college baseball, because I thought of Blake Burke from last year against Florida State in the check swing. He gets on base. The 3 pitches later, the game was over. 3 pitches later. So there's a lot of things in baseball that have to hit. I'm with you on Omaha or bust for them. I could totally see that, right? I just think that you got to have those 4 guys. And I think that thought's right. Like, hey, man, you're going to be in these 2-2 games in the 9th inning. That somebody's got to come out and lock things down for you to advance to that final thing. And look, you were there last year, so you should know exactly what it takes to get back. Other than A&M, I want to go to a team who's been making it to Omaha every year, but they haven't gotten over the hump, but they've been there. They almost got over the hump a couple years ago, that being the Florida Gators. Listen, this is how I think about Florida when I think about them. Shit. We got Florida this weekend, right? Like, I don't care that they're losing midweeks. Sully's going to have a squad. They're going to be really good. They're going to hit. Jay talked about him today. He's like, dude, we try to get a Ty Evans out. He goes, the dude hit 800 off of us. We had 0 answer. Jack Caglione. Okay, like this team's stacked. Those guys move on. When you look at Florida, I feel like they're being slept on, but on every SEC team that's out there.
Yeah, I agree, Blake. I think they're very slept on. It's almost to the point where we're so ho-hum about Florida because we just know they're going to be there and maybe they don't have the biggest, flashiest storylines. You lose Jack Caglione. But, yeah, man, I love this Florida team this year. I've talked to folks down there, and you mentioned Ty Evans. From what I've been told, he's going to hit in the 8-hole for them. He's going to hit in the 8-hole. They are stacked. That lineup, 1 through 9, they are stacked. I think that lineup could be better, even losing Jack Caglione. They're deeper. I think they're deeper 1 through 9. Now, some things have got to come together, right? We'll see how some guys start out. I don't want to say they're going to have the best offense in the SEC right now, but they're stacked. Their question's kind of the same thing as some others, Blake, where it's just pitching. It's can Liam Peterson on Friday night? He was a freshman last year. Great stuff. He was very inconsistent. Can he give you more consistency in the number 1 spot? They're going Pierce Capala and Jake Clemente on the weekend rotation as well. 2 guys with – listen, it's Florida. They got power pitching and they got power bats. The thing with the pitching is they need guys to throw strikes. They struggle with that at times, and they had a lack of pitching depth, which is why I think they struggled so mightily in the midweek. So, and I think they've got more of that, but Florida's going to roll out 3, 4, 5 guys, Blake. It's going to be the weekend. LSU's going to be squaring off with them. They're going to roll out some guys you've never heard of, and they're all throwing 95. Every one of them. You're like, do they have anybody that doesn't throw 95, 96, 97? So it's Florida, man. Listen, they under Kevin O'Sullivan, who I think, for my money's worth, and I don't care how Tennessee fans feel about it, I think Sully's the best coach in the SEC right now. I made that very clear. All due respect to Tony V. All due respect to Jay. it's funny. I was worried about Tennessee fans. You rest assured, you're like, it should be LSU fans you're concerned with. But I think when you look at
was I wrong?
No, you weren't. But I think when you look at when you look at body of work and when you look at what he's done in Gainesville, they are 9-0 in super regionals. They are not. They have been to Omaha more times than they haven't in his tenure there. They are 9 for 17. Like, you have a better chance. You flip a coin. It's better odds than a coin flip. They're going to Omaha. I mean, picking Florida to go to Omaha is the most. And they go last year, Blake. They went 28-27 in the regular season.
Chris, do you
and
remember
they go
what
anyways?
Happened? Do you remember what happened at the SEC tournament? We were people were debating if they should have gotten in or not.
Yeah, I mean,
you remember that?
Folks down in Charleston, South Carolina, were not too thrilled. The guys over at CFC, you could argue they got screwed, but Florida made the most of their opportunity, man. I was at that Super at Clemson. Some of the wildest baseball I've ever seen, some of the craziest games.
Yeah,
they just got hot at the right time, man. I mean, they had studs on that team. It just didn't click. But, yeah, this year's Florida team, to your point, there's a lot of fun storylines, Blake, obviously with what Jay's doing down in Baton Rouge and Tennessee's trying to go back-to-back and A&M's #1 and Schloss is at Texas. And it's like, oh, yeah, there's Florida at 10 just kind of hanging out.
Chris, they're 6th in the SEC, and we're having a discussion if they could win the whole thing.
Florida can absolutely win the whole thing. I group, Blake, the top 5 in my predicted order of finish and my power rankings that I dropped. To me, that 1 through 5, they can finish in any order. Those 5, let me see if I can recall them. A&M, Tennessee, Florida,
Arkansas.
LSU, and Arkansas. To me, those 5, all 5 of those are capable of winning the SEC this season. All 5 of them. And it's a lot of it's going to depend on – see, it's harder for us to compare schedules, Blake, in baseball because there's so many schedules. That's another thing with A&M. Their schedule is a gauntlet. I mean, if they win the SEC, buddy, tip your cap because they earned every bit of it. And I know everybody's got a tough schedule, but not all of them are built equally. So, but I'm excited to watch Florida, man. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Kevin O'Sullivan. Love what he's done there, and it's Florida baseball, man. Again, they got power arms, they got power bats. They're going to be right there. You know what Florida's all about. So and to your point, it's going to be hell every weekend when you play them. Even if you take 2 or 3, or God forbid you sweep, man, it's you're going to have your hands full.
Another team that I think is being slept on? 3 more teams here. Dude, Georgia's at 4. Nobody's talking about them.
Yeah, Georgia's kind of, and I love, obviously, you guys love Wes Johnson and what he did at LSU.
For sure.
I mean, he's fantastic. And it's only a matter of time before that Georgia pitching staff really gets going under his leadership. And maybe Colton Smith, I think he's a guy you mentioned underrated and not talked about enough. Colton Smith was really good for them last year.
Yes.
I do still worry about their pitching, though. They've got guys back in the lineup, a couple of dudes that hit almost 20 bombs a season ago. Dude, they brought in 16 guys from the portal. You talk about working in the portal. And the only thing is that it's you're not going to hit on them all, so how many can they hit on? But I will tell you, and I'm sure Jay and the coaches of the SEC would agree, you probably agree, Blake, the thing I feel good about when you bring veteran bats in,
yes,
I feel like most of the time you can count on those guys being pretty productive pieces because, dude, hitters is where the experience really matters. Like, if you've got a couple hundred at ABs under your belt, typically you're a pretty seasoned guy at that point. Even if it's more consistently tougher pitching in the SEC, like you're such a well-seasoned hitter with your approach, and I feel confident in those kind of guys being productive for you. But you lose a guy in Charlie Condon, like I mean, he bailed them out a lot last year. He did. Every time they needed a big swing, it seemed like he came up and delivered. So Georgia, and here's what I'll say, Blake, and I want to see if you agree with this. I think when we come into each season, who else isn't getting talked about a lot? Kentucky. Who else isn't getting talked about a lot? Auburn. You know why? If we could, let's say the quiet part out loud. It's because they don't have baseball tradition like that. I expect LSU to reload. I expect Arkansas to reload. I expect Florida. These programs that have this deep pedigree, I don't know if Georgia gets the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not even saying they should. I'm not saying they should. How much
baseball talent is right there.
Oh, Georgia, that program, I'm not saying they should be winning the SEC every year. But, dude, look at the MLB draft. The amount of guys that come out of Georgia, yeah, that's a program that should, and it comes down to investment too. I mean,
right.
Certainly Georgia's not going to be taking away any football dollars anytime soon to put in the baseball program. But yeah, there's no excuse.
He did throw. I did see that they threw $20 million at the baseball facility.
They also put turf on the field, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but that's another story. It's a turf field now in Athens, which sucks. But but anyway, I know. Hey, I guess it was Wes's call. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know whose call it was.
Somebody's getting – if that's the truth, somebody's getting a text message after this show.
No, go look it up.
I believe you.
I will see the picture. There is turf on the field at Foley right now. Yeah, it's a turf field at Foley.
I will not confirm or deny if I'm going to text a SEC head coach after the end of the show and be like, what the hell are you doing?
It's there, man. But, no, to your point, man, Georgia kind of reminds me of Texas, who we may talk about. They're going to swing
my next one. Them and Arkansas.
They're going to swing the hell out of it. How much can they pitch? If they can pitch average to slightly above average, they're going to be a really, really good club. But is it going to be like last year with Georgia where, Blake, it was 8-0 in the 8th inning, and we're like, hold on to your seats. This game ain't over yet, folks. Like,
right.
You talk about not – and that's why Georgia didn't make it to Omaha, Blake. They didn't have the 3 or 4 guys in the pen. They were like, who's got a pulse today that can go? And that's how it felt. Like, who do we have a warm body that can get loose? So
and look, we saw West transform dudes not named Paul Skeens right in front of our eyes, right? Like,
I'll be excited to see if that pitching staff makes a jump under him this year.
I think
because if they do, Georgia's going to be very dangerous.
Here's what I'd say, and I think that if anybody said this that covers Georgia baseball, the way that they feel about it right now, know it for a fact, is they think that the talent is high level. Floor is really low too, right? Like, I mean, either way, they're from the way that I there's no middle ground.
I think that's fair. Georgia is probably the one that's up in that top 6 that if they took a step back, because I've asked myself the question, Blake, to your point, I'm like I saw them in that perfect game poll at 4, which that was the drunkest top 25 of all of them. I was like,
right.
Anyways, they are the one where I'm like, are they for real? Like, is this really what Georgia is now? They're just all of a sudden a preseason top 10 program in the country. It's a big prove it year for them, but they've got sticks for sure. But again, the pitching just got to take the next step.
Chris, I'm going to give you an open-ended one here. There are 3 teams that I think that we're talking about expectations, and I don't know what Schloss can do at Texas. I don't. But I look at Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Texas all in the same light for this reason. There is tradition there. There is a big baseball field there. I saw that you had, and forgive me for not remembering the gentleman's name, but you had someone on from Mississippi State, and he's like, listen, man, you're going to pack out a stadium 2,000 people on a midweek. You got to start winning. I guess of those 3, who do you think kind of gets back into, I don't want to say baseball relevance, but in a way, baseball relevance?
Well, Blake, I mean, I'm picking Arkansas to win the conference this year, so I guess I'm going to go the Razorbacks. That's kind of what they do. Now, listen, Arkansas is on my shit list. They're on my shit list to a degree because last year, going into the postseason, we made predictions. I'm like, I'm riding the Hogs, baby. Hogs are going to win it all. They couldn't beat SEMO, Blake. They couldn't beat SEMO on their home field.
Dude,
so that left a pretty nasty taste in my mouth. So was Arkansas one of my picks to go to Omaha? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But Arkansas is as good in the regular season as anybody. Like, they're going to pitch the lights out. Gabe Gackle on Friday night is going to be a freaking stud. Dude's a consensus All-American, seems like, across the board. The question with them, oddly enough, and kind of opposite everybody else, are they going to hit enough? Blake, they were second to last in the SEC last year in team batting average. If they're middle of the pack, they're winning the conference. It's as simple as that because they're going to pitch.
Chris,
they're going to pitch.
Think about this. LSU was out hitting them and was 3-12.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Missouri.
Yeah. They got to answer some questions in line. They got a healthy Kendall Diggs back. I'm excited for him. I think he can be a real stick, but they got to have some guys step up in the lineup. So I like Arkansas a lot. I think Arkansas, even if they don't win the conference play, is going to be in that top 3 or 4. I just, they do it every year, man. Every year they're winning 20 SEC games. Now, postseason,
they're going to get
that mental midget is just, it's a mental thing. And you know how mental baseball is. Like,
LSU has it. Can't win game 1.
Yeah, it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's going in the seat. That's all everybody's going to be talking about. It's all you're thinking about. Like, it's not going to be like, we can't wait to get out there and kick their ass. It's like, we cannot lose. And when you think that way, you're cooked before you even step on the field. Any sport. So I think Arkansas will be good. Mississippi State, I like them this year. I like them. I think they're going to be – I had them in the top 5. I had them finishing ahead of Tennessee. That really went over well with the folks in Knoxville. I had them finishing – they're my surprise team. I think they're going to surprise. I think Mississippi State's around a 17 or 18 win SEC team. So I think they're a top 5 team. And I had them as my sleeper pick to go to Omaha. I had them in Omaha. So I like Chris Lemonis, their head coach. I think Pico Khan, who's going to get the start Friday night, the lefty. He's got to make a big jump. They're asking him to be the ace, obviously only threw like 30 innings a season ago, but he's got big-time stuff. And, dude, I think Hunter Hines is wildly slept on. That dude smashes the ball. He can be a 25-plus home run guy, really, truly. So,
dude,
yeah, I like State.
Agree. Yeah,
one of those 2 teams in the state of Mississippi is going to figure it out. And I don't think it's going to be Ole Miss, to be transparent.
I actually agree with you. And listen, speaking of Hunter Hines, dude, did you see his postseason exit velocity at that like Baseball America BP tour?
I did not see that.
It was like 115, 116.
Dude, here's the thing. He needs to get his average up. He did not have a great year. He hit like 256, but I mean, the kid hit 16 home runs, had almost 60 ribbies. So, I mean, if we're talking about him 20 plus, 25 plus, which he's capable of, he needs to have a Bear Jones kind of year, Blake.
Yeah, and listen,
really, truly. I mean,
we're about to get to LSU here before I get you out of here, but dude, these big, strong TRT taking dudes, man.
The other thing too, Blake, really quickly, Mississippi State. There's no such thing as an easy schedule in this conference. I would never. Manageable.
Yeah,
it's more favorable than most. They're getting some big series at the Dude. They open up SEC play with Texas at the Dude, which I know you asked me about Texas really quickly. Again,
speaking of favorable schedules, we want to go down that road
Let's
again?
go back down that road. Let's go down the favoritism road again. The way that the SEC is bending the knee for Texas. Nah, again, they're going to hit.
Snow having asses.
Yeah. They're going to hit Max Ballou, Jalen Flores. They're going to hit lots of home runs. I mean, Ballou was the conference player of the year in the Big 12 last year.
Right.
It's just they have so many question marks in the rotation and the pitching staff. They, basically everybody's new. They got all these transfer portal guys, and I actually talked to a Texas guy the other day, and they've got the kid from Indiana State who's going to start game 1, and I was told he's been getting roughed up a little bit in their scrimmages. So, I mean, listen, like you said, maybe it means your lineup's just that great, but I don't want my ace getting shelled on a weekly basis in the preseason. That's not a great sign.
Jay literally said today he only saw Paul Skeens get like shell-shocked once, ever. It was the 3rd time that he went up against Dylan Cruz in that 2023 lineup. I'll tell the story. Very brief. I heard that Dylan Cruz went in the locker room when Skeens pitched on the Friday before the season and said, "Enough is enough. Enough is enough." And listen, Skeens. I heard Skeens tip the cap and it's like, okay. Bro, he was throwing and it was a special day. It's when everybody got to go see him. Like, bro, he's hit 102 7 times. Later, did we know he would hit it 44 times in 3 innings, right? That's what was insane. But to your point, listen, man, it's a different beast. I am about Texas because they only heard me talk about the clip of the schedule. Jonah Williams. Bro, I literally have an MLB guy that constantly comes on this show. He's been a scout with the Yankees, the Rays. He's with the Dodgers, by the way. He won Executive of the Year, Draft Executive of the Year. I mean, come on. Bro, he thought that he was the most special player in all of college football and recruiting. Dude, you got a lefty that's coming off of the mound, 6'4", 225, throwing 95 plus. Okay? By the way, just throwing this out there, everybody talks about NIL. Ask Texas where they found the money for the number one safety in the portal and high school. I'm going to tell you, it did not come from the football fund. Okay, so I think it's a little bit. Tell me if you think that I'm wrong. Little rebuild, mini rebuild to build up to what Schloss wants to do here.
To what their expectations are, yes, because this is a program.
Right.
I mean, listen, and I said this, I think, last summer, and there were a couple fan bases. LSU, I think, was one that they took a little offense to this because I said my excitement for Texas joining the SEC, like me growing up, Blake, when I thought of college baseball, I thought of Texas. I really did. And LSU's right. Texas, LSU, USC. Those three are like you said, the pinnacle of college baseball, like the gold standard. I mean, dude, Texas has been to Omaha 38 times.
I know.
That's insane. They've been to the College World Series 41 times. Omaha 38. I mean, they literally on their cleats put the University of Texas at Omaha. I mean, I respect it. Now, being realistic in this season, I'm fascinated with the Jim Schlossnagle thing. We talked about the pressure on Michael Early. There is a pressure on Schloss.
I agree.
Texas, went through some hell to get him, if you will. And then I think I thought it was fascinating. I know you talked about and you listened to it, the conversation I had with Kyle Peterson. He mentioned this too. Kind of the target on the back. There's going to be people that want of him. I think
everybody wants a piece of him.
Even outside of College Station, I think there's a lot of people that are like, can I curse on here?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of people that are like, fuck this guy. Like, fuck this guy. Like, if we can, like, he didn't do it to me, but he's still, I'm not a fan of what happened. So, but there's going to be that similar, but it's Texas. Everybody wants, it's almost like a perfect marriage. Everybody wants their shot at Texas. I mean, I know LSU, you're pissed off they got to go there, but I know LSU's going to go there like, we're going to shove it up their ass. Like,
we've been there too. We've been there 2 of the last 3 years. And people that don't cover them like I do, they were like, we haven't been, like, in our conversation, there was comments in there. They haven't been there in a while. Bitch, they were there last year. Like, LSU went there in the midweek and dicked you down.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, bro, a 3-12 SEC team to start went in there and dicked you down. What are you talking about? We own that place. Big dog, just letting you be known. I mean, I'm not reliving that, but I'm just saying it's been the truth.
The other fascinating part, Blake, is the fact that the Arm Farm, Max Weiner, which, yes, I know his last name is funny. Let's get it out of the way. Max Weiner came over from Texas A&M with Schloss to Texas. And the job he did with the Aggie pitching staff, because I recall vividly going into last season, Blake, what was A&M's biggest question? It was the pitching. They had like a 6 ERA in 2023.
Yeah.
Dude, I think they had the best ERA in 2024.
They did.
So if Max Weiner can do that again with this Texas pitching staff, because again, it's transfer. They got like one guy back from last year. A lot of new faces, a lot of moving pieces. But the dude has a track record. And if they can be just average to slightly above average, they got sticks. They've got sticks. But it's just, I think it's asking a lot of that pitching staff, guys jumping up in level to try to get SEC hitters out on a week in, week out basis. If they can get to the supers, Blake, to me, I think that's a successful year. And I would never, one thing I will not do is insult the tradition of a college baseball program. So I'm not going to tell you, well, Blake, I mean, it's okay if they just host a regional this year. Or, I'm not going to tell you to be happy if they just hosted a super. I know what the expectation is. But to your point, it is a mini rebuild. I mean, they lost in a regional last year in College Station. Like, they haven't been great. So if you can get to a super, see what happens, be one of the final 16. Even if you don't get to Omaha, I think that's a step in the right direction year one, especially with all the questions you have.
Do you think that Coach Weiner goes to the bar to try to get with women and goes, it's Weiner, Max Weiner? And do you think they just walk off? Like, I mean, that's
Weiner for two. Yeah. It's funny. The first time last year
for Valentine's Day, And we got a reservation for Wiener for 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
Doesn't everybody tonight, right? I mean, pause. I mean, it's
no
I
Pauls
remember
on Valentine's
no
Day.
Paul,
All
yeah,
Wieners are acceptable.
yeah.
Pause.
I I remember last year we were breaking down A&M, and I'd never heard his name, said his name, so I saw it and I called him Max Weiner on the show because I'm like, I mean, why would I assume it's pronounced Wiener? And then I had my A&M guy on, and he said it. He said, they brought in Max Weiner, the pitching coach. I'm like, okay, it's Weiner. All right. Yeah.
I mean, like, Mrs. I now pronounce Mr. and Mrs. Wiener. You know what I mean?
Hey, respect it. He's a hell of a pitching coach, though.
Hell of a pitching coach. All right. You can say whatever you want. I'm not going to chastise you like I do on the internet, but maybe a little. LSU coming into the season, a lot of high expectations coming out of Baton Rouge. The outside perspective looking in. I want your real honest God, and I know you'll give it to me. When you look at LSU baseball coming into 2025, your thoughts?
I think they're deep. I like LSU a lot. Like I told you, Blake, I think LSU could win the SEC. I think any of those top 5 I mentioned could win the SEC. I heard you talking earlier, and I've seen some of the comments. I know Jay likes his team a lot, which is scary for the rest of the SEC.
I agree.
Jay's listen, for all the LSU folks out there that heard me talk about the coaches, if you wanted to put Jay at 1, it's not like I'm going to fight you to the death. Like, he's one of the best, okay? I mean, I'm not sitting here like we're really splitting hairs. So,
if he does win it all this year, he'd be the only one with multiple. But I mean,
right.
like that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, we'll change the rankings accordingly. But no,
I'll be texting you every day. Change your rankings.
No, dude. I mean, I love what they added in the portal, man. The Hernandez kid from Indiana State, the catcher spot. The Dickinson kid, obviously from Utah Valley, and I know we've talked about Stanfield from Auburn. All 3 guys. I think we talked veteran at bats. I mean, these are guys with 279, 295, and 220 plate appearances. Like, these guys have been around a while. They've been productive in their previous stops, and I mean, that's adding on, man. We've talked about Bear Jones, Blake, the best ass in college baseball, and some of the most power.
America's ass.
That power comes from somewhere, right? Dude, he could be a 30 home run guy, especially if they make it to Omaha. He will be, I think, a 30 home run guy. I'm excited to watch more of Stephen Milam come into his own. Brazzy was I was so happy for Brazzy last year, man. He's such a good kid.
Mm-hmm.
I think you saw, and that's the thing, you saw the Jay Johnson effect. So you can
did.
expect 1 or 2 or 3 more guys for that to happen to. Maybe some of these newcomers, Josh Pearson being back at DH, Jake Brown being back. So it's, I'm excited to watch Derek Curiel, all the hype around him. And, I think I heard somebody on your show, Blake, talk about he's going to be in the starting lineup day 1.
Yeah.
And if you're the starting lineup as a freshman day 1 at LSU, at a place like that, you're a stud. I mean, and it might take him a few weeks to get going. You never know, but he's a stud. Like, he's a stud.
An outfielder that did not go in the draft and came here with the initials DC. Huh.
Leave it to Blake to set those kind of expectations, right? Now,
no, I'm not trying to, but I mean, listen, when you're going sub 600 in 3 weekends, either your staff, which this is not happening. Chris, we're talking about, I get you're seeing the same guys. Like, I get it. And you play college ball and you get it. Like, I understand it. Sub 600. Like this, bro, we were talking about and Cruz in his freshman year, they were like, Paul Maneri come out there. How I didn't ask you about South Carolina, I don't know. But he'd waddle out there and he'd say, there's this guy named Dylan Cruz. He's going to be really good. And then we're like, oh, shit. That is if there is some fairness here, there is some comp there. Bro, not only is he a freshman playing the outfield, he's in the 2-hole.
Yeah. I mean, that's saying a lot. If you're able to insert yourself like that at a program at LSU that quickly.
Jay called him the smartest player on his baseball team, and he didn't hold back from it. I mean, like, look, dude, they have kids like Tanner Reeves who might play short, might play third. Bro, that's elevated Braswell's game because he's like, bro,
From talking to you, Blake, it seems like LSU's deeper this year.
Oh,
they're deeper. It's way more than 1 through 9 with them. And the 1 through 9 they've got I'll put it up against anybody. I mean,
in the A&M series, Jay talked about this today too. It's so wild. You do realize when they took 2 or 3 in the 23 year from A&M, who's a damn good baseball team, 3 guys with double-digit home runs did not start that weekend. Okay? Yeah. You're potentially talking about that now. I think Tanner Reeves, who's been tearing the cover off the ball, it's going to be different, Chris. I don't know if it's the power, right? Like, I don't know if you have – but, brother, you going to hit. I mean, and that's the thing that I'm just like, oh, shit. I mean, when me and you were there, and I talked about this on your show, but when me and you were there, it was Stanfield single back up the middle, Curiel single out to left, and then Bear Jones, I mean, like, he just continues to hit nukes. So, I mean,
there's no – you can't take a breath with this LSU lineup.
Stephen Milam might be in the 8 hole.
Yeah. I mean – and I think the thing,
in the SEC.
The thing I liked about some of those guys too, you bring up Milam, is the clutch factor. Those guys have been, Braswell the same way. They've been through the fires. They're not going to see, there's a nice mix of the experience on this team too. And we haven't talked about him yet, Blake, but again, like some other clubs, it's going to come down to the pitching staff. That's the interesting thing, Blake, with baseball, right? And you can't predict. I mean, who's going to sit here in the preseason and go, I think they're really going to struggle to throw strikes this year. I see a lot of walks incoming. You're not going to probably say that, right? But it's going to come down to those little nuances. Like, is Cade Anderson ready? Hey, it's a lot different being the Friday night guy at LSU than pitching. And I know he pitched. We posted the highlight. He had like 14 strikeouts in that game in the midweek. Yeah. Like, it's a lot different when Jay says, go out there and shove against Texas. It's a lot.
To your point,
go on the road, go out there, but not to say he can't do it. It's just different. It's just different.
To your point, he got touched by SEC pitching last year. I mean, it wasn't until the end of the year.
To my point, to what I just said, though, I mean, if this isn't why Cade Anderson came to LSU, then I refuse to believe that, right? I'm excited for the Ianson kid, the UC San Diego kid.
Yes.
82 innings pitched last year, right around a 3 ERA. I mean, I've talked to others. That kid is for real. That kid's for real. And then Shores, man, who was injured. I mean, it's just there's some mystery there. Guidry at the back end, I really, really like. Gavin Guidry's filthy. So I think I heard a guy saying that they were trying to stretch him a little bit. I don't know. I like Guidry at the back end. And then there's going to be guys in the LSU bullpen that, again, it's power pitching. There's going to be dudes that I'm not nearly as familiar with as like you are, or anybody in the SEC is, and you're going to be like, holy shit, this is good shit. Jay knows what he's doing with the damn pitching staff. Like, I don't doubt that for a second.
I mean, if Shores is here's what you have in Shores, because we didn't talk about him a lot today. Bro, the last time they saw him, he had 100. Jay said today he was at 100 miles an hour, 12 pitches in the first inning. So then you come in with Maverick Rizzi that nobody's really seen pitch, because he comes in, and Jay said today, and he confirmed the big suspicion that there were close scrimmages that people didn't see. And then Maverick Rizzi, of course, Jay Johnson being a little what's the word? Elusive here. Of course he was. And I know why he was. Maverick Rizzi, 6'9", 250. And
that's scary.
Yeah. And listen, Jay's 5'7" on his best day, right? Like, I mean, Paul Skeens was 6'6". I mean, this kid's throwing 97, 98 at the current moment. So they have talent. Again, can they put it all together? And listen, man, there's no better run than Omaha run. None.
No, I mean, I was there, Blake, for the very first time. And I know you said you've never been, which blows my mind. Man, I would love nothing more than you and I be sitting in a few months, drinking a cold one, sitting out there at TD Ameritrade, watching the Bayou Bing.
This is the promise this is the promise I'll make you, okay? Because I did a really good job on Valentine's this year and what we're going to do for our anniversary. I'm gonna if it gets late into Omaha, I'm gonna be there.
And, I mean, Blake, you gotta listen. I'll extend this. You got a place to stay. We're gonna have an SEC Unfiltered house in Omaha.
Well,
you're welcome to stay.
Well,
I mean, you ain't even got to worry about lodging if you just get out there.
Okay, well, end of discussion. It's going to happen. It's now 2 SEC.
Now it's all up to Jay. It's all up to Bear and
brother.
up to Cade. We got to
You're
put it
gonna be
on them.
texting 2 SEC head coaches, one about turf and one better get to Omaha. Because
I'm telling you, Blake, you got a place to stay 110%. I will be out there from Thursday of that media day before it starts till probably Tuesday after the finals championship series, because I feel that confident that an SEC team obviously is going to be in the final. So I will be out there the full 12 days, and we will have the spot.
Please, dear baseball God.
It'll be a run like no other. But
Without
listen, and I had LSU in my Omaha 8 this preseason. I it's just when you're picking your Omaha 8, it feels like a safe bet. I don't think LSU is going to get off to a 3-12 conference start this year. I'm curious to see the lessons. And I know I asked you about it, but I'm curious to see just like the lessons they learned from that. I think that's something that can make you better, And even if you lose 2 or 3 opening weekend, it's like, all right, hey, we've come back from way worse than this. We ain't dead yet. We're fine. I think it's going to help this group a lot. There was a different kind of pressure on them last year, trying to go back to back, trying to replace Skeens, trying to replace Cruz. I don't think LSU's flying under the radar by any means, but the pressure's a little bit different. You know what I mean? So I'm really excited to watch this club, man. They're gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, and I think you saw that growing up in the SEC tournament and then in the first round. I mean, Chris, they're a strike away from hosting a Supers last year. A strike away. They just couldn't get it done, and they couldn't get the hit to end it. I mean, like, look, if their floor, last thing I swear to God, if their floor is what happened last year, then sign me up, because that's going to be the floor. And look, Jay broke the curse that nobody could. A national champion in the SEC not getting back to the postseason. That's what makes my guy different. All 5'7" of him, and I love every bit of it.
I was going to say, what is it with LSU and these little 5'7" coaches that come in and just terrorize the conference?
I have absolutely no idea, but here's the truth. I will protect him with all of my being, because there's nothing more. Listen, I've said this, and I'm not saying this because you're here. I've said this a lot. Nobody on that campus, no one, not Kim Mulkey, Brian Kelly, no one on that campus is more like Saban than Jay. No one. Brother, I know for a fact that during recruiting, like high school recruiting, during the football season, they've been at number 1 the last 3 years. So we're talking about them being deep and loaded. Well, by the way, we didn't even talk about William Schmidt, who was the number 1 pitcher in the country from high school that does not go to the draft. Chris, he's coming out of the bullpen. Okay? The last time this happened at the same exact school was Aaron Nola. That's what I'm talking about. He is relentless at every bit of the pursuit. Every bit of it. Nobody works harder than him. And that's why I think that because he's saying what he's saying, knowing who he is, that's why people are so confident. All right, I kept you way longer than I probably should have. Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered. Gracious of your time. We're here. We finally made it.
We made it. Dude, I'll be getting on a plane early Friday morning, go to Arlington, Texas to watch them Horns, man, and Ole Miss and some others as well. So, yeah, we made it, man. I'm super stoked. I'm just fired up, man. I'm so happy. I'm so happy we made it, man. It's some of the best time of the year. Before you know it, it'll be SEC play, and, yeah, the road to Omaha begins.
I think we're going to kick some people's ass. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, baby. Let's roll.
Hey, it starts with Purdue Fort Wayne, baby. You drew the short straw this weekend.
Hey, listen, I don't think that you understand this. Because of the way that football went down, I have let my opinion be known. I want aggression taken out on the diamond.
Just everybody. Every midweek, every non-con.
Oh, buddy.
What's LSU's most notable non-con matchup? Is there one?
To me, probably ULL.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, ULL, because we chaw back and forth on Twitter. You know
what? I didn't tell you this, Blake. I had a ULL guy come at me for my take that, the Cinderella story's dead in college baseball. And I think it's the guy you've interacted. Yeah, ULL coming at me, chirping me. I'm like, brother, when ULL's kind of falling off. Like, are y'all even relevant anymore? They used to be.
Boy.
Listen, they used to be really good, really good. Now I'm like,
now your players are getting poached.
Where are y'all at?
Well,
you're not going to go to Omaha for the exact reason I just said. That ULL's best hitter is probably going to be like, well, going to that regional was fun, but I could transfer to LSU and actually win a title. Just call it for what it is. It's sad. I mean, teams like Rice, Tulane, probably like the UC Irvines of the world.
Oh, they're in trouble.
Like Coastal Carolina. We're not going to see that again.
Danny Dickinson, Luis Hernandez. Why am I forgetting? Danny Dickinson, Luis Hernandez, Zach Cohen. I mean, these are guys we're talking about preseason All-Americans.
Indiana State went to a super. I mean, it's still just – the Sycamores can't compete with what LSU is going to give that kid, right?
No. By the way, dude's got the sickest walkout song. Okay,
I didn't see.
He's got a line. I don't even know the song, but it is electric and it gets the people going like we're Will Ferrell. Okay,
provocative.
It's provocative. It gets the people going. My man's got a lime green base mitt on the base paths. When you go full Jose Bautista on my ass and you pull out the lime green, I know you hit nukes. Like no one's going to hit more nukes. Russia doesn't have as many nukes as what Luis Hernandez is going to hit this year. Bro, in baseball, when a player looks good, I'm like, oh, this dude can absolutely demolish baseballs. Like
Well, I take it this, Blake, and I want to say thank you to the LSU folks out there that have really leaned into it and, like I said, engaged with our baseball content. Obviously, when you came on, that conversation did incredibly. I think it just showed. Obviously, LSU folks are really fired up for the season upcoming, and I cannot. I got to see the venue when I came down during football season. I've never been to a baseball weekend in Baton Rouge. Cannot wait to experience that firsthand. And just soak it all in, the smells, the taste, the ball, the sounds. It'll be I don't know. It'll be magical, just like the football visit was.
Friday night.
Maybe we leave the LaBerge night out though.
Oh, you can't do that all weekend.
Hey, listen, it's a long weekend. It's a long weekend.
Listen,
right?
Nothing was more important to me, and I mean this. I really do mean this. I'm glad LSU beat Ole Miss that weekend. I'm glad we went out, had a good time, and I'll be able to hang out with you this time. Just kids are kids, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be hanging out with the superstar, man. We're going to have people coming up asking for your autograph. It's,
I don't know about all that, but people, look, we're going to be able to hang out this time, okay? But here's the thing, okay? I was so proud to be an LSU guy and from Louisiana when you walked in that baseball stadium on a random Friday night during a fall scrimmage and the bitch smelled like bourbon. I was like, I swear to God, from that moment on, I was already ready.
Yeah.
It smelled like bourbon on a random Friday, Chris.
I respect the passion. I mean, that's what makes LSU great, man. That's what makes SEC baseball great. Can never start too early, baby. Can never start too early.
And I'm telling you, you think you had an experience last time. You get this crawfish bowl and no doo-doo on these crawfish. The doo-doo line. It's gonna be good.
I saw, by the way, Blake, somebody asked in the comments, what series are we coming to? I'm just going to leave you with this, Blake. I don't know for sure, but I'm not ruling out LSU Tennessee. I'm going to leave you with that.
I think A&M in Texas is that weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
That's why I'm breaking that news to you that I'm not ruling out LSU Tennessee. I may have a changing of heart.
Let me just say this. I get if you went to Tech, and I'm mean this in all seriousness. If you went to that one because of what happened with Schloss, completely understandable. Here's the truth. The truth of it is you ain't going to see baseball until Tennessee comes to Baton Rouge. I promise.
I need to see the welcoming LSU gives Tony V.
It's going to be bad. It's going to be sold out. Okay, shit is going to be insane. That's normally when LSU Tennessee face off. It's normally for LSU fans. Okay, the last year was A&M. Whenever A&M or Tennessee come into the box, that's when shit starts getting popping. Because look. Easter's done, Mardi Gras done. You got spring break's done. Well, baby, what are we going to do this weekend? Oh, shit, Tennessee's in town? I hate that son of a bitch, Tony Vitello. Okay? I'm listening to me. I promise you, it's going to happen. Like I told you on the Ole Miss weekend. I'm not wrong here.
We got the upgrade. We got the upgrades done at the box?
We do. They
Those
were
are
finished.
done.
Yeah,
Wow,
they are finished.
I can't wait. Because they were finished, or they were working on those when I was there.
Yeah, they are finished.
I'm excited to see those then. Excited.
Little birdie tells me that they are not going to be done maybe at the end of next year. There's going to be some things going on with the Bucs again. It's interesting what happens when Jay Johnson's him, and it just, you think the dude's going to be good. I'm just going to throw this out there.
Here we go.
If
you want to get SEC baseball fans going,
the dude is trash.
Start talking stadiums. Hey, we got 500,000 views on that graphic.
The dude is trash. There, I said never been.
Here we go again. Here we go again with the clips. Here we go.
All right. This sounds for real. Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered. Buddy, thank you so much. Let's go have some fun and watch some SEC baseball this weekend.
Let's play ball, man. I appreciate you. Always a pleasure, Blake.
All right. Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered.